What's up, gang? Today we're going to be talking about the sound generator section of the Roland MC-909. Here we go. So welcome back. Today we're going to be going over the sound generator section of the MC-909. And before we get started, I want you to go down there and click the subscribe button for me and give me some likes if you like this stuff. It all helps out. So we're going to start with the glaring problem on the MC-909, and that is the song mode. Song mode is part of the sound generator section, but just so you know, complete, full disclosure here, the song mode doesn't quite work right. You can string patterns together and that works fine, but if you are doing it from the 909's patterns, stringing them together, sounds will cut off when they go to the next pattern if it's like different settings or whatever. So it's not fully functional. It never has been, and they've never fixed it, and hopefully it's fixed on the new versions of all of the MCs, because they never fixed it on this one. It says in the manual that it's how it's supposed to be, but it's clearly not how it's supposed to be, but we'll get into that later. So there's a song section, and as you can see, they have the songs here, and each song will have like a selection of patterns. So you can see that that's the pattern, and this is how many measures it goes for. If you're working with the preset ones, it works mostly fine. I will spare you the preset torture of this device, but anyway, song section, it's there. I hardly ever use it. However, one thing to note is that the pattern mode for the sound generator section, the pattern mode, you can have patterns up to 999 bar lengths. So that means, like, one bar is 1 through 16, and you can have that 999 times. So that's a lot. One thing that you can do with this to make like long songs, if you want to just have like a one long song, is make it one long pattern. You can cut and paste with the sequencer using just the 909. That's totally doable. It's a little wonky, but it's totally doable. Another thing you can do is record the MIDI data into another sequencer, play it back into this, and record it on there as one long pattern. Then it'll be solid. So you have like one long pattern that's basically an entire song, instead of just like parts of songs. So the pattern mode, the way that this works is when this is on, you hit play and it starts playing the pattern. There's nothing on this pattern right now, so that's why there's no sound. But if you want to go ahead and make a pattern, you can hit record. You get real time, the TR rec mode, which is kind of like XOX style, step record, and tempo mute. Tempo mute is means like you can automate the tempo and the mutes. So it kind of rides on a different track, but you can select the track that you want to record to, and if you have it set up to where it's not using just one sound at a time, essentially like as a sound module, you can record on multiple tracks at the same time. You just have to have the appropriate settings set on there. But anyway, we can say real time. Let's go the TR rec. So this is something that everybody wants for a drum machine, right? You want to be able to do this. So this tells you you got 4/4 timing, and the measure length is going to be 4 bars, and then record velocity is going to be real. So that you can hit like, so like if you hit a pad softer or harder, you get different results. But what you can also do is just set it to the maximum amount. Another tip with this guy is if you hold down shift and use the alpha dial, you go in bigger increments. Same with the increment decrement. So let's do this. So you got patch list, mixer will let you set up the channels how you want. The way that most of the tracks on the 909 work are the ones on the bottom are the rhythm section, and then, or I should say, you know, drums and percussion, and then up here we got, you know, synths and samples and, you know, whatever on the top. But the way that most of the presets are laid out, they have the drum kits on 9 through 16. But once you dive into this and start making it your own, you're free to put whatever you want on whatever track you want. This is 16 tracks. They call it a part, so 16 part mixer, I guess, but it's basically like a 16 track MIDI sequencer. So let's go ahead, and you see they have BPM and click, and this is where you would set the click and the BPM, obviously. You can output the click to a different output than the mix out, which is totally cool if you're doing some weird stuff where you need a click to go to a drummer or something like that. You can put that out of one of the other outputs. So there's your click. Beautiful sound. We can close this, and then you see that the record button is blinking, and if you hit play, then you're in the mode, right? So this is going to keep looping, and it's set to 4 bars. But what you can do is you scroll through these are the sounds. So you just have like a piano roll, right? So we can go ahead and put in our 4 bars if we want, and you can hit forward to go to the next bar. And it's also, it has to be already loaded in there for it to play. If you notice, some of the ones that I hit were like, oh god, did I mess that up? Okay, so there's 4 of 4. And then you can go ahead and select different sounds if you want. Cool. The other thing you can do is switch the part. Oh yeah, this is a loop that I have cut up on that one. How's that? Okay, so that is the pattern, right? So if you have this going, you can then switch to any other pattern that you want. They have preset user or whatever you have stored to your card. I don't have a ton of stuff stored to the card at the moment, but I think I do have some stuff on there. So you'll see that this counts the bars, lets you know when it's going to jump to the next one. You can go you have like all the way up until it says locked, which would be like the last bar. So if you have like links that are less than 1 bar, it won't let you switch the pattern. But that's an actual song. So you can see that I have some stuff there. One thing to note is that if you are writing stuff on this, you gotta save a bunch. It doesn't automatically save like all the new stuff. This thing is from the year 2001. So if we were to go into another pattern now and then edit that pattern, it would lose the original one that we were working on, which is called Invides. But if you save it, you can just write this pattern to wherever you want. We'll call it Invides because that's what we were calling it. But let's call it something else. Let's say this is just going to be like our jump off point, right? The alpha dial is super weird for doing this, but you can hit change type. You can also delete or insert spots, but I'm going to make like a numerical thing here, right? So Invides to write it, and then I'm going to put it on the card. You have a choice of where you want to save this stuff. And save it right there on that empty slot. You can also like overwrite stuff. So that is how that part works. So for each of the tracks, you have like a choice of a patch or a rhythm patch, rhythm set, I guess, and then also you can have effects. So these are all for each pattern. It stores what patches are on each of the 16 tracks. It stores your effect settings for that pattern, and it will store the BPM information, but you can switch whether or not you want it to lock BPM to whatever. Like, so if you're changing between tracks, it doesn't jump from one BPM to the other. You can change that in the system menu here under sequence MIDI. You can see BPM lock is set to off, so that means that they would just switch BPMs. But I think everything's at 138 by default on mine anyway. But if you were to have like the BPM lock on, wouldn't matter what BPM any of your patterns were at, it would stay at a consistent BPM. I hope that makes sense. So for the sound part of it, the other thing that you want to look at is this patch sample part. So this is these are your patches. This is the list for the entire 16 parts, and you can quick jump around to all of these parts, and then you'll see there's a list, and this like will let you easily browse patches, and you can. These are the presets that are built in. These are the user ones that you may have saved to the unit itself. Then there's the card, stuff that you save to the card. Me personally, I always work off of the card. I just save to the card back and forth because it's easier for me to just pop it out and have one for one type of show. And then SRX is if you have an expansion board installed. I will say that the SRX sounds for the 909, the Supreme Dance ones, I kind of dig them. They have some good ones. You can also select like the type of patch that you want. So if you say category, it will bust it down by like synth, bass, pad, blah blah blah. These are like different styles that you can, different styles of patches that you can get to. So like let's go to the synth one, for example, and then I'm going to go down to the SRX part of the list. So these are all my SRX patches, and some of them are like very like basic, which is very useful, and some of them are like, you know, deeper, more programmed kind of thing. But these are great sounds to like start off with. Go back to these SRX patches that are bass patches. Oh yeah, you can't jump in and out of record and play either, like on the new stuff. But this tool is great for in the studio, and it's also great for performing live if you have a bunch of stuff already in there, but you're not going to be able to like record on the fly or do that kind of stuff like you can with a lot of the newer gear. And I'm hoping that the new line of MCs has this feature built in, but I got no promises. So let's see, this will give us a count in if we want it to. So this is the RealTime record. I'm going to go ahead and turn the click off for a second. So you got record, that's your time sig. The measure length, so we got 4 bars. And then record mode is going to be mix, which means add into what's already there. And count in, we're going to have a 2 measure count in. The loop rest it will give you like a blank bar at the end of your recording, so that you don't like accidentally hit another note at the very beginning of the bar when it loops around. Super helpful. Quantize resolution, you can leave that on or off, or you can set it to a percentage, which is very useful. Like if you set it to like 74 or something like that, that's like my magic number. And then record velocity, you can leave it at that one, or you can have it at you know, real velocity, or if you want it to be something else. But for stuff like bass, you can just like, you know, you may not want it to have a velocity sensitivity. You can also, if you use this, what is it, the count in, you can have it off. So like as soon as you hit play, it's recording. You could say 1 measure, 2 measure, or wait note, which is cool, because that means you can have your click going and it will just start recording as soon as you hit a note, right? 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. So the patches, we'll get into that on another episode, like how to like program the synth engine, because that is like several episodes all on its own. But when we're looking at this patch play page, this will tell you like the bank that it's on, the name of the patch. This is the level, so this is the actual level that it's on the mixer. And then there's a pan key shift, which is cool because you can then like shift it by key. That's probably too low. This is the reverb send. The reverb effects also come in under the part of the sound generator, so I'm going to go ahead and cover that as part of this, but I'm going to save it. I'm going to save the effects for a separate episode, so things to look forward to are patch programming and the effects. And then over here you have the output, which is super useful. So yeah, you got song, pattern, and patch, and sample. You can also load samples into any of these. The synth engine on this machine is really awesome. You have like a sampler and a rompler, which are able to be used together, and you have 4 stereo layers for each part. It can be a bit much to tackle, but we're going to get down to it. In the next couple videos, we're going to go over the sound programming and the effects, and then we'll get into sampling as well. But yeah, hope that gives you some kind of clues as to what goes on with this thing. All right, back to it. All right, so that wraps up this episode of 16 Steps. I hope you found some of that useful. Next week, we're going to dive in more on the patch editing and the different structures that are available inside of that synth engine. So hang tight. We'll be right there. Until next time, peace.